The following episode is of a sensitive nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
Um, Hi. For some reason, our intro didn't play, but hey, and Brian, I can't hear you. Do the
Okay,
unmute yourself. There you are.
there I am.
Yeah. For some
Hi.
reason, the intro didn't play.
Oh, okay, but we are live. Is that
Yeah,
correct? Okay.
but we are live,
All right. Well, sorry for the technical glitch at the top of the show. Hello, welcome to Genealogy Adventures. I'm Brian Sheffy.
and I'm Danya Williams. I'm gonna tell y'all something. This show right here, we got to be real serious on this whole thing. I'm gonna keep it real with y'all, and I'm apologize in advance if something slip out my mouth. I am not even gonna joke. I ain't never seen nothing like this in my life.
So, thank you very much for spending the next hour with us, no matter how you're tuning in or where you're tuning in. And we're going to front load this episode with a couple of caveats. We will be talking about this Project 2025 policy manifesto, and both on YouTube and on Twitter and on Facebook, we've actually given you the download link to the PDF, in the hopes that you will download it and read it under your own steam. But it's also a way for you to follow along as we're talking about the different sections. It is a 900-page document. Not all of it is writing. There's lots of tables and citations and all of that. It is a long, dense document.
It
It's a
is.
document that was produced by the Heritage Foundation. It's a document that's been produced in links with Donald Trump and his administration and his organization. Um, and it's an important thing. Please don't let the length of it or the density of the language put you off reading it. Every voting American needs to read this document to really understand what's in it and what's at stake for our republic. I'm not going to get sucked into this. We're not a democracy. We are a democratic republic, but I admit, we are a republic, and that needs to be said, kind of a thing. There is no way on earth that Donnie and I, as talented as we are, can steam through 900 pages of lots of policies in 60 minutes. Not going to happen. So Donnie and I have agreed that we're going to actually have this conversation over 3 episodes. I think
Yes.
that's the only way that we will be able to tackle this monster.
So let me talk about those 3 episodes. Today is the first episode, and we're gonna try to like do things in a particular manner. We're not going to just kind of go off the range and just say, hey, this is on page 577 and this is on page 966. No, we're going to be focused on certain things that we're looking at. And then on July 13th, even though we haven't placed it up there yet, we will be having Mr. Emmy Award winning producer Loki Mulholland on the show. And it's going to be a 2-hour special. If you notice, July 13th is a Saturday. So that's going to be a 2-hour special. He's going to be showcasing his 30-minute documentary called Dying to Vote. And we're going to have that along with the panel. I will not say who our panel is just yet. But along with the panel, and we're going to have a discussion, and we really want you guys to be there because it really kind of wraps all around this. And then that following Sunday, which will be the July 14th, we will do the part 2 on the Project 2025. So this is a huge thing. This is something that really, really needs to be discussed. Um, this is crazy. So yeah,
So
that's how.
a few housekeeping things. Thank you so much to everyone who's reached out, however you've done it, to ask about my health. Had a very bad chest infection. If you can hear, my voice still isn't fully back yet, so it may drop in the show, and I apologize in advance if it does. But I really do thank you for your well wishes. That really did mean a lot to me. Um, that was the big thing. And the other thing is saying Texas, you're in I hate saying the phrase thoughts and prayers, but we know it's headed your way, and we just wish you all the best and hope that you and your loved ones come through this on the other side. So the part of this document that I'm going to be speaking a lot about today actually starts on page 581. It's the Department of Labor and Related Agencies, that's written by Jonathan Berry. One thing that you can also do with this PDF is, if you're very good at using find, the find function to look for certain phrases, what you're going to actually find is that a lot of the sections that I'm actually going to show it about the DEI, diversity and inclusion, not necessarily in the parts of this document that you would think to find them. So again, there's a lot of information about what they'd like to do with diversity, equity, and inclusion in the Department of Labor section, but equally in the DOJ part of this document. So again, that's another way that you can parse this kind of monster of a document. And was there anything that you wanted to say first, Anya, before I kind of get stuck in?
No, I also want well, yes, I said no and then started talking. I also want everybody to first apologize. I am having very shoddy internet issues. So if I go out, just give me a moment, I'll be back in. But I do want to say, for everything that Brian is doing, the way we are keeping this genealogy focused, because as genealogists, we do things and talk about history and how it affected our families and so on and so forth. We need to first understand right off the break that this is what our families was going through. So with that being said, for everything that he comes out with that they're talking about in there, I'm going to show you a parallel of it, because this is the best way for you to see that history actually does repeat itself, and it's actually going to move in it's doing it right now. So go ahead, Brian.
You may want to actually copy and paste the link to the PDF back into the comments. If everyone looks at the show advertisement for this episode, it's right there in the comments. Is the link to the PDF. One thing that I want to say is this document is put together in a kind of ingenious way, where it's arranged. First of all, you have a kind of document summary that really kind of, in very loose language, gives you the overarching kind of mission statement of why the Heritage Foundation put this document together. And when you read through the summary section, it sounds plausible. It doesn't sound like it's a bad thing. It's talking about putting the family back as the centerpiece of American life. What that says to people, for people that don't have kids, I don't really know. But it's about putting the family back. It's the centerpiece, importance of religion. Um, Again, as Donnie and I were talking about, there's over 400 Bibles in the English language alone,
Hmm.
different versions of the Bible. So, which version of that Bible is going to get used that everyone else has to live by? That's going to be an interesting conversation. They don't really get into it, but we can imagine. So, if you just parse that summary bit, you don't think that there's anything contentious in it. And trust me, I have a lot of white former classmates who made that comment. Well, I've read the overall summary, and it all sounds good to me. And people are basically screaming at them, going, "You have to get out of the summary. You have to start reading some of these sections." And then again, this book has chapters, arranged by chapters. Every chapter has kind of a summary, and I'm going to read you the mission statement on page 581. Because again, these statements and these summaries on the surface sound benign and beneficial. It's when you actually start getting out of the summaries into the policies that things start to really wildly unravel. So, at the heart of the conservative promise is the resolve to reclaim the role of each American worker as the protagonist in his or her own life and to restore the family as the centerpiece of American life. That sounds great. I mean, apart from the fact that the Biden administration has done a wonderful job getting so many people back to work, aren't the numbers historic? Actually, isn't that what they said? This is the most number of Americans that have worked. So I'm not sure about what the complaint is there. And I don't think anyone has anything against the family. We all have family. We all come from family. Some family members we may get along with better than others, but we all come from a family kind of framework. Um, the role that labor policy plays is that promises twofold: give workers the support they need for rewarding, well-paying, and self-driven careers, and restore the family supporting job as the centerpiece of the American economy. I didn't realize that that was under threat in any way. And one of the things that you will quickly find out is none of this that I've read so far is supported by any numbers. And they don't really show exactly step by step how they plan to make life better. But that's going to become more apparent over the next 60 minutes. And then it's talking about the Judeo Christian tradition, stretching back to Genesis, has always recognized fruitful work as integral to human dignity. Most major religions, whether they're Judeo Christian or not, all say that. Why they would call that one out in particular, I don't know. Um, so, like I said, you start reading things like that, and on the surface, it does sound really benign, and you would sound like a jerk if you were going to quibble with any of that. And as overarching ideas, I love this. This is great. However, if you flip to page 582, the next page, and you start seeing needed reforms after all of this wonderful, kind of fluffy, summary type information, straight off Jump Street, reverse the DEI revolution in labor policy. And DEI, again, is diversity, equity, and inclusion. Under the Obama and Biden administrations, labor policy was yet another target of the diversity, equity, and inclusion revolution. I'm going to stop there because I had to actually pick up the phone to Danya this morning to say maybe I was misreading something or I didn't understand something. I'm going to say it again. Under the Obama and Biden administrations, labor policy was yet another target of the DEI revolution. Well, I'm sorry, Heritage Foundation, but DEI, I guess, is a more modern version of policy that has gone back decades. And I've just pulled out a couple that I'm going to read for you. So, June 1941, Executive Order 8802, Roosevelt. E0802 prohibited government contractors from discrimination based on race, national origins, and color. That's 1941. Fast forward 1948, July. Truman, Executive Order 9981. That desegregated the armed forces. Then we're going to go fast forward again to JFK and Lyndon Johnson and the creation of Title VII of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. So that's kind of telling me we've got 1941, 1948, 1964, and then, in 1973, we have affirmative action. Something must have been going on in America that the federal government felt was still so wrong that they had to keep doing this stuff again and again and again by executive
Brian,
order.
you're leaving out the fact that when it actually the first time they actually did it. And the first
Hmm.
time that, the first time that it was actually done was in 1871. And I need y'all to hear what I'm about to say, was the Enforcement Act of 1871, also known as the Ku Klux Klan Act, Third Enforcement Act, or Third Ku Klux Klan Act, or Civil Rights Act of 1871. So just saying that, not even going into and reading what that act was, because it's basically the same wordings. It was done by Grant, but Ulysses Grant. But the thing is that the fact that it is associated with the KKK, and these are the same things, all three, and all of them that you've come, all 4 or 5 that you just named, and then I'm talking about the original one. Y'all need to see where we going. Okay, go ahead.
Absolutely. So I'm sorry, Heritage Foundation. I'm sorry, Mr. Jeffrey. Laying this one at Biden and Obama's feet. I know Obama's the trigger word. The black man who was president, let's blame everything on him, is a lie. Just Donnie took this back to 1871. I just gave you 1941, 1948, 1964, 1971. Now, unless you're willing to say that Obama and Biden were presidents for this whole time, that dog just won't hunt. You want to say something?
I'm not going. No, I'm trying to keep, because this whole thing is scary. It's a really, really scary thing, and I don't want y'all to say I was just. Let me be clear on something. Right. He read to you what it was. He read to you what all of those things meant. Now you tell me if I'm wrong, if this doesn't sound the same way. Those 3 acts, the Enforcement Act of 1871 is an act of the United States Congress that was intended to combat the paramilitary vigilantism of the KKK. The act made certain acts committed by private persons federal offenses, including conspiring to deprive citizens of their rights to hold office, serve on juries, or enjoy the equal protection of law. Is that not the same thing? Just worded differently. I really, really want y'all to understand. I've been preaching this and I've been saying this for a really, really, really long time. We are going backwards, and we are going backwards faster than a speeding bullet.
That's why when I used the phrase neo-Confederates or Confederacy 2.0, I was not exaggerating. And hopefully by the end of this hour, you will understand even better why I said what I said. Because I stand behind every syllable, every character, and every letter of every word that I posted online about this. So and it goes on to say, under this managerialist left-wing race and gender ideology, every aspect of labor policy became a vehicle by which to advance race, sex, and other classifications and discriminate against conservative and religious viewpoints on these subjects and others, including pro-life views. So again, for my cousin Danya, and I'm like, I'm sick, my head's kind of fuzzy for medication. I want to make sure that I'm not putting a meaning on what I just read to you about race and gender and sex and all that stuff. I didn't want to make sure. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't putting anything in there that shouldn't have been an interpretation that was incorrect. Because I know that this branch of conservatism, and we're going to get into this as well. Donnie and I agree that there is now a difference between a Republican, and by Republican we're talking about the Cheney's and Adam Kinzinger and Mitt Romney's. There's a difference between them and MAGA. And we are making that distinction today.
Yes,
and we want more Republicans to step out, even those that are currently in office on Capitol Hill, to stand up and to speak out. Because if we lose this democracy, it's on you. If we lose this republic that Donya's ancestors fought and died for to protect, that my ancestors fought and died for to protect. If anyone watching and hearing these words, ancestors fought to defend, it's on them.
Yeah.
It is on them. They have got to stand up.
Yeah.
And there's no excuse. Grab a pair, get a pair, grow a pair. Don't care what you have to do. Do your job. The job that you swore an oath of office to protect and defend the Constitution and this nation.
Yes. And the reason why Brian is saying all this, y'all, is because when you read this particular book, you actually start to see the difference between a Republican and
Mhm.
a conservative. A Republican, they got their things that they believe, and it's not the same thing that a Democratic person does or a Democrat does. But the conservative, y'all, that's taking it back to the king. Like that's what a conservative is. A conservative literally takes it back to the king. As you read this book, as you go through, even if you're just scanning the book, you will see words like loyalist used in this book. Like I said, I'm giving y'all the history that y'all need to look into. Brian
And
is
as you
telling
said,
you going,
the,
right now. I'm giving you the history. The word loyalist was used back during the
Mhm.
Revolutionary times.
Yeah,
That's what
exactly.
y'all need to know.
They might as well be wearing redcoats at this point.
Yes.
But the thing that I wanted to check with Danya was I know and she knows how these ultra, okay, now I'm just, well, MAGA, white nationalist Christians, however you want to describe them, we know how they feel about gender, the gender discussions that are going on. We know about their feelings about how people identify in terms of their sex identity. So all of this is negative, but then they led with the word race. And I'm like, did they just say the quiet part out loud? Did they not realize what they were saying about race? When they actually led with that one.
Yep. That was the first word done.
They
That's
didn't lead with the word gender ideology, they led with race.
that's the
And when
first
you
word.
read this section of this document and other sections, that readily becomes available. They have a problem with anything that the federal government has ever tried to do to recompense or ameliorate or make better the life of descendants of enslaved people and free people of color. They resent it. And again, going back to some of the other parts of this document, birthright citizenship. If you descend from an immigrant in this country after the Civil War, guess who you have to thank for birthright citizenship? The descendants of enslaved people and free people of color, neither of whom were classed as American citizens. That's why we had an amendment put into the US Constitution to enshrine that. You born in this country, you're an American. End of story. People have fought wars for this stuff and they're trying to take it away. So again, all of these things that by the trauma and tragedy of our history in this country, the experience of Black people actually now benefits all Americans. So I kind of now understand probably why they did lead with race. The next administration should eliminate every one of these wrongful and burdensome ideological projects. Now, again, imbued within all of this is this kind of unspoken argument about a word called color blindness. Now, this group of people want us to believe that America is post racial. I know it's not. I feel it. I actively feel it. There was a Klan march in Tennessee that's now just doing the rounds on social media. I don't know if it happened today or if it happened yesterday, but there was an open air Klan march again in Tennessee. So you cannot tell me that this is a post racial country. Tom Cotton, every time he opens up his mouth, tells me this is not a post racial country. Josh Hawley
Jim
tells me
Jordan.
that this is not, Jim Jordan, thank you, Danya,
Jim
tells me
Jordan.
that this is not a post racial country. And you know what? If you were to ask most people of color, most non white people in this country, we don't want you to be colorblind because there's a lot of history and there's a lot of stories wrapped up in this. I am proud of this. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not ashamed of anything that happened to my ancestors. What they went through made me an even stronger person and probably a better American. I want you to see my color and understand the journey that this color has been on in this country. And then we can all celebrate when we all are equal and free. How about that? That shouldn't be such a big ask. But they don't want to do it that way. That requires too much heavy lifting, uncomfortable conversations, because wait until you read what they want to do to the Department of Education. That's a whole other topic for a whole other show. Everything is linked. Everything about this is linked. So now they actually want to get, so, and then again on page 582, they're saying, well, there have been a lot of interracial marriages in this country, and there's no pure anything. There's no pure African Americans. Well, I hate to kind of tell you that, but slavery, ever since slavery was introduced, ever since men and women got together back in the earliest colonial periods, it's very hardly any pure anything
Ever
anymore.
since
We
the
all
Bible.
mixed. Thank you. We all mixed. We're all variations of what I call American Creoles. But you know what? If I actually believed you a lot, I don't see anything in here about denying about the one drop rule, because we know that that's still a thing. So, and I'm going to give you an example. And this is a simple example that I can conceivably give you. I am African descended, European descended, indigenous descended, Middle Eastern descended, Asian descended. Donya's got one on me because she's got Australian Aboriginal. We have yet to ever figure out what that was all about. But you want to know what I get profiled as, treated as?
A
Black.
black man. That's right.
Black. That's the only thing that matters. Not the fact that the reason why I look like this is because I have and Jewish. I'm also Jewish descendant. It's because I have a lot of Jewish and European ancestry. That doesn't matter. I'm a brown man with some recognizably African features. That's all that matters. That's the truth. What they're saying in this document is a lie.
It's not just that it's a lie. It's just that it's actually it's a very dangerous document to have, and the fact that this document has been in existence since Trump first. It's not that the document has been in existence. I'm sorry, y'all. I have a little net. It's not that the document has been in existence, but the idea of it has been in existence for a very long time. And these are the things that we have to really worry about. The book itself was not written, the mandate, as they put it, was not written until 2023 and shared until 2023. What scares me about this whole situation is the fact that it is very reminiscent of the past, of the timings that our ancestors did go through. And one thing that I'm here would like to do is definitely show those different things, and also to like really point out how this is a resurgence of this is a not a resurgence, a rebranding, in my opinion. And I don't care who say stuff to me. Y'all know I am a descendant of Preston Brooks. Try me. Okay? That's how I'm gonna put that. And if you've ever done any kind of research on him whatsoever, you will truly understand why I say that. And I'm using this white man as an example because if he wasn't scared, multiply it times this little black girl standing in front of you. There you go. It's on some other stuff. So, with that being said, this is literally a rebranding of the KKK. And this is not the first time that the KKK has rebranded, because in doing this type of research, we also found that it originally, the first KKK was done by Forrest in right after the Civil War. And the reasoning for it then was because they didn't like how the whitewashing. I mean, how people, not the whitewashing, but how people were being removed, and they felt like that they weren't getting what they were supposed to get. And this is why that act was created. Then after that, they died down. They died down because they got what they wanted. They started to push us back into the Jim Crow era. It was going back in the direction that they wanted, so they didn't need to be out there like that. But then in 1915, they ended up back in the scene. It was rebranded again, and this time, why would they rebrand it? Patriotism. Isn't that what this is about right now? Patriotism. That literally was a part of their mission statement. It was about patriotism.
It's
So,
interesting who they acknowledge as a patriot and who isn't. But carry
right.
on. Carry on.
But exactly. So, doesn't matter that by the time 1915 came around, we had already had these wars that Black people were a part of that made sure that this country would be what it's supposed to be, from the American Revolution to the French and Indian and the 1812 and the Civil. We fought in every last one of those wars, and it was the beginning of we were getting ready to fight in that too. But who was the Patriots? So that's a problem for me. That's a problem for me. And now we're back to this thing here. And now they're calling it Project 2025. And it's a rebranding of the KKK. So with that being said, there
But I actually want to pick up the other side of what we were talking about, the rebranding, because that's important too. This is nothing new, as Donnie was saying. It's a rebrand. But it also goes back to Ronald Reagan and that whole trap, that whole welfare queen
Mhm, mhm.
business that he came out with. Then we can look at the Tea Party, which is really MAGA. There's no, MAGA is kind of Tea Party 2.0, or Tea Party coming out of the shadows more than they'd already done. This is nothing new. Americans have just let it slide. And I guess thinking, oh, well, we kind of marginalized them because, Obama got elected president. It never went away. They just regrouped, rebranded, came up with a different playbook, different, not new, different playbook, and just repackaged and relaunched the whole thing.
Exactly. That's it. And that's what they're trying to do. So with that being said, I want y'all to know this is who the Heritage Foundation is and their mission. The Heritage Foundation is a conservative think tank located in Washington, D.C., whose mission is to formulate and promote public policies based on the principles of free enterprise, limited government, individual freedom, traditional American values, and a strong national defense. The mission of the KKK in 1915. The revived Klan was fueled partly by patriotism and partly by romantic nostalgia for the Old South. But more importantly, it expressed the defensive reaction of white Protestants in small town America who felt threatened by the Bolshevik revolution in Russia and by the large scale immigration of the previous decades that had changed the ethnic character of American society. Y'all can sit up here and tell me that this don't sound like them. You can tell me, you can say it all you want to. I'm not in agreement.
Like, you just beat me with Sharon. I want to say, Sharon, cousin, I agree with you. And I was just saying to Donia before we went live, do you want to know who the real silent majority is? The millions upon millions of Americans who stay home and do not vote. We
Yep.
don't even know what they think. That's the even scarier part, that the biggest voting bloc in this country, we don't know what they think. We don't know how they feel, because it's not only that they don't vote, they don't even register to vote.
Exactly. And the reasoning why they won't register to vote and all of those things is because they're constantly being fed. Here's my first curse word, and I'm sorry, but bullshit. That's what they're being fed. They're being fed information that they should not, that it's half, it's not all of it. So it's just like these summaries that they're getting these summaries, and then when they get these summaries they find out that these summaries wasn't everything. It was oh, and by the way, this is going to be added to this as well. I'm like, well, wait a minute, you didn't say that from the beginning. The problem is that how we teach our kids is not the same. The problem is how we share this information is not the same. People have so much issues with our ancestors, especially Black folks. They have so much issues with our ancestors, but y'all need to realize that our ancestors were smarter than us because they knew everything. We're getting it in pieces. They knew everything. This is why education was so important to them. This is why they were able to go and do the things that they were to build these daggone HBCUs that they built. But now this particular thing, it's not just attacking black folks, because we're gonna survive. We always do. We're gonna survive. But people of Italian descent, people of Jewish descent, people of any other descent that's lighter than a black person, y'all gonna be affected too. Because if you don't do, if you ever voted or paid money into a Democratic Party, then guess what? The job, that good government job that you have, you're going to lose it because you did that. This thing is something else.
I'm also going to say this virulent brand of white nationalism has no love for Catholics. If you are Catholic, if you are Irish, Italian, Greek, Portuguese, Spanish, I know Greeks are more Greek Orthodox. That's another version of Christianity that white nationalists do not like. But if you belong to any of those groups, Polish, Italian, Irish, I'm not going to go through the whole list again. You need to sit down with an older member of your family who was in this land before 1950s, and you need to have a hard conversation with them about what their life was like, the racism and prejudice that they had to face before they got the quote unquote white card, just to make up the numbers so there was more white people now than there were black people.
Well, I mean, let's just talk about the fact that as an Uber driver, I've learned a lot of different things. But one of the things, and I'm just going to say this briefly because Tierra Doom had a question that needs to be answered, and I want it answered. But there was a Native American woman sitting in the back seat of my car, and as I was driving her around, I don't know, as an Uber driver, you talk about any and everything, and somehow we got onto politics, and she was the one that actually told me that her particular tribe is now fighting to not be white, to not be considered white. A lot of these people that we talked about, that we just named out, they fought to be considered white, and now it's crazy.
Why would you fight for a racial designation from a group of people that brutalized and traumatized and ripped your people off for generations? I've never understood that.
Never, but they did. So let's go now. We're not going to waste on that. We're going to get on Miss Tierra. Dear Miss Doom, you can't do anything. What have black people gotten for their vote? Your weight. You're here. You're able to say that because of the voting that black people did. Just those words right there. You can say that. You can do the things that you want to do. You can go to different schools. You can go and buy whatever you want to buy. Now, are you going to fight in the midst of that stuff? Yes. Unfortunately, yes. There's going to be things that's going to happen that because you're black, because your skin is black, there's a problem. But if you want to know what have black people gotten for their vote, it's everything that you have the ability to do today. That's what black people have gotten for their vote. Everything that you have the ability to do today. And if you listen to this particular mandate for leaders, as they call this book, all of it will be taken away. Every last bit of it.
Actually, to the point where we're going to be back in Jim Crow 2.0.
Yes.
Now,
it's going to be a totally different thing. It's going to be different, but it's going to be the same.
So if non-white people saved, and I'm going to open it up that way, if non-white people save our republic and save our democratic republic yet again, we need to sit down with the Democrats and the independents and the reasonable Republicans, and we're going to have a hard conversation to say the shit stops now. We've saved you again. We cleaned this house again, and we want X, Y, and Z, and you get nothing from us until you give us X, Y, and Z. I don't think that conversation has ever happened in this country. You throw the gauntlet down. We will save your backside. If it has to be a formal contract, then it has to be a formal contract. We have to get it in writing, we get it in writing. But that's the way that conversation goes. I don't know if that conversation has ever been had that way. But you can't tell me that millions of non white people, if we actually do the coalition and get the job done, as unenthusiastic as many of us may be about voting for Joe Biden, I'll tell you what, I'll vote for the man because I don't want fascism. And I definitely do not want Jim Crow because Jim Crow is not healthy for me. Because I know I will get strung up in a tree because I got a mouth on me. I'm from Edgefield.
You know what? They ain't even gonna waste the rope on the kid. I'm gonna tell y'all that right now. They not gonna waste the rope on me. I'm getting bullets. I'm getting the firing line. I already know it's this. It is what it is. That's what they're gonna do because I'm trying to tell you I'm that person. Because they're gonna have. I'm that person, and they're gonna. Maybe I need to turn into Miles Yeldale, who had them so scared that they wouldn't even mess with him. So maybe I need to get turned. I need to turn that.
No, Nikki, we are not in Jim Crow. Please don't exaggerate. We are not in Jim Crow. Because I'm telling you, I know family members who came. I was born at the tail end of it. I can have conversations with my siblings who are 10 and 12 years older than me and my older cousins who went through Jim Crow. We are not there yet.
So wait a minute. Okay, so I'm glad we're doing this because Tierra, I need to know why. If you can type it up, because I know it may be a lot to type. I need to know why you believe that it's fear mongering when this is a book that is literally written and this is everything that's placed there. And please know this, that this book technically is for any president. It's not just for Trump. It's for any president. Robert Jeffries actually stated on an interview with Michael Steele, former Republican, I can't think of the name of it, but Michael Steele and the woman from MSNBC, he stated up there that he placed it in front of Biden and Biden walked away from it. Biden said, no, I'm not doing it. It is not for me. So I want to know if there's any way that you could put it down, that it's fear mongering. Tell me how you think it's fear mongering, because the bottom line is that the way you're saying this is as if everything that was done prior to this time in life didn't need to be done. Am I wrong for understanding this is how she's saying that?
I'm taking it that she meant that it was done and nothing has changed. That there's no substantive change. And again, depending on, I guess, what state that you live in, I have the luxury of, now that I'm thinking about it, I have the luxury of saying no. But say that to poor child that was shot in Kentucky, Breonna Taylor, who got no justice because she was Black. Say that to Sandra Bland, the poor woman who died in those weird circumstances in Texas, and Texas tried to say that she killed herself, and we all know she didn't. Try saying that to Philando Castile's family, who legally, law-abiding gun owner told the policeman he had the gun in the car, that he had the permit for it, murdered and shot in cold blood in front of his baby in the back seat. I mean, there's just too many examples to go on. So yes, I know that depending on the state that you live, circumstances may change, but that doesn't reflect the entirety of the country. Two quick examples I wanted to give about this whole DEI workplace that is a bad thing. I cut my teeth in the commercial advertising sector, working for major English, British advertising agencies. I would have never had a career as a creative executive in an advertising firm in this country in that time period. So much so that when I say that when I came back to this country not that long ago, as far as I'm aware, there are still no senior level non-white advertising executives. It is still one of the careers that is still in this country majority male, those senior positions, and white.
Okay, Brian, we got some questions that we knew we were going to get, and Tierra actually she did make one statement. She said, Black people need their own political party. We've got fascism now. Once again, Black folks are getting played. So here's the thing. What about the Black folks? I'm going to use this as an example. This is something that Brian and I have been experiencing with ancestry. Can y'all hear me, Brian? Can you hear me?
I
Okay.
can hear. I can
All
hear.
right. One of the things I'm gonna use an example is this. Black people always talking about promoting Black businesses. But in the process of them promoting these Black businesses, they're also looking for a handout. They're saying, what can you give me for doing it? Don't give me don't try to give me a handout. Don't talk to me about helping me, supporting me. If you're looking for me to give you something in advance, don't look for a discount from me. Don't do those kinds of things. Now, if us as a company want to provide a discount to African Americans because of the things that we do, then allow us to do that, just like you allow other companies to do that. But don't just automatically assume that because I'm Black, you need to do the same thing. With that being said, Black people do not support each other. Brian, I had to mute you. You unmuted yourself?
Yes.
Okay. Black people don't support each other, so we can't get along enough to even build our own political party, is what I'm trying to get at. And then Brian, and I want you to answer this one, and then Tierra says something else.
I'm
I
also
don't
going
know
to
if
quickly.
Yasminka Evans, I don't know what she meant by that's not an answer. Can you be clear? So go ahead, Brian.
I don't even know what I was saying at that point. What I am going to say, I'm going to piggyback on what you just said. And I have never actually said anything like this. I'm not happy that I'm saying it now. Anything other than a vote for Biden and his team is a vote for fascism. That's it. There is no third party candidate. There is no way that we can create a Black political party. Just think between now and election day, which is not that far off, there is no way on earth that we could create a Black political party, agree on who should be on the ticket, and then get them on the ballots in all 50 states, and then raise billions in funding to be able to run campaigns for them.
And that's what Yasmika was talking about. She was actually
Yeah.
responding to Tierra, and
Mhm.
it's just that we talk a good game, but we will not follow suit and follow through. Not because we don't have the smarts to do it, because we
No.
already know that we do. But the bottom line is, this is that these you got this generation of kids that are coming out talking about, I am not my ancestor. Y'all need to understand that it was your ancestor that did those sit-ins, that created everything that allows you to do the things that you do today. They did that, and they did that by joining together. I did a speech to the Daughters of the American Revolution, Women of Color and Forgotten Patriots, and I definitely put in that speech, we can't keep sitting up here. We're the game changers. We're the architects. We do all of these different things, but we can't do this stuff without doing it together. And until we get to a point that we are going to mobilize as a complete group, that's the only time it's going to work. The last time we had somebody to mobilize us was Martin Luther King. Why are y'all waiting for Martin Luther King, another Martin Luther King, to come and do this? Why? You know how to do it. You know what to do. Get up.
So the flip side of that is, and I'm not discounting that is a way to go. It is just not a way to go right now. Get the job done, save the republic, save the democracy, and then on January 1st, once the dust is settled and we know where we are, start the process of creating a Black political party.
Exactly. You already knew that Biden was old when he first was elected. Let's just be clear. This man was old from the beginning. So if you knew he was old from the beginning, why didn't you start doing something then? Why wait until now, until the very end, until the very last minute, until the moment where you can't do nothing but if you vote for him, then you voting for Trump? stop playing with me. Like, if you're really this smart and you really understand and can get all of the things that are going on or whatever the case may be, then you understand that it's too late.
Mm-hmm. And
Period.
Kelly said the exact same thing. Trump is as old as Biden. He is as old as Biden. He also is having mental impairity. Actually, I think his is worse. The
And
man
if
can't
you
remember.
sit up here and say to me that you do not see this man going through the stuff that he goes through on stage when he just rambles completely out of nowhere, changing his stuff from one thing to the next thing you are lying to me. You
Yeah, and
lying.
he one, he's mentally impaired. Two, he lies so much. Lying is like breathing for Trump. He
Sure.
can't even remember what lie he told on what day he told it. He's First of all, he was really proud of Project 2025. This blew up. People were responding to it in a negative way that how they didn't know that this was going to happen, I don't know. Now he's trying to disavow it, but he isn't even being clever in how he disavowed it. Oh, I know nothing about Project 2025, but I disagree with a lot of what it says. Man, if you've never heard of it, you don't know what it says. So how can you have an opinion on any of it?
That part.
Any of it. You read that tweet, he contradicts himself at least 2 or 3 times in the same tweet.
That part.
And he's never called out on it.
That part.
Where is the legacy, legitimate, I'm not no sorry, the legacy kind of national news networks in all of this? The man Trump keeps giving you all the ammunition you need to take him down, and you won't do it.
Nah, they
Keep going
won't.
on about Biden and that horrible debate. We all know it was a horrible debate. Biden knows it was a horrible debate. Stop it. Trump was just as bad. He lied from start to finish, from first syllable out of his mouth to the last syllable out of his mouth. Nobody gonna call him out on that though. It infuriates me. This
Not
is
to
the
mention the
spice.
fact that, like you
This is
said
the
earlier,
spice.
right. Not to mention the fact what you said earlier about Mitch McConnell. This man was just stood there for like
Yes.
what, a good 5 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes. He ain't say nothing. He didn't do nothing. He went into a straight stare, and he's done that more than once. Y'all, those are signs of a stroke.
And
That kind of
he was
thing is
asked
a
in
sign of a
real
stroke.
time, and he was asked in real time on camera if he was okay.
And he didn't answer because he couldn't. So I really, really need for y'all to like take everything into consideration.
Mhm.
Really look at everything, and we're gonna do this with you. We're gonna do this with you. We're gonna go through. I mean, me and Brian, we're gonna have to sit down and talk about whether or not we're gonna do specials throughout the summer when we're normally off. We really, because this is this is an ongoing, this is something that really has to be addressed, and we can't sit here and be what's the word I'm looking for,
Hypocritical.
hypocritical, if we're not doing our part.
Yeah.
This is a part of our part.
So, because we're in this with you, obviously we live in this, we share the same country as you do. So obviously we're here. I'm only laughing because this is the spicy Brian that few of you actually suspects really exists. That Donia keeps telling you about. So I'm gonna say yes. In January, when the dust has settled, and we've done the analysis, and we warded off fascism again, because as Donia, we were saying before the show started, it is not a once and done deal. We will be fighting this demon for generations unless we can finally kick it to the curb. How we do that, I don't know. That's for a collective discussion. But yes, let's talk about founding a Black political party. Do not wait for, as Donnie was saying, for the next Malcolm X or Martin Luther King Jr. or some senior civil rights person to do the heavy lifting. We have to stop being lazy as a country. We want change. We have to be the change that we want to see. Don't wait around for someone else to pick up the pieces and to do the heavy lifting. Come up with the ideas. Get people around you. Get people talking about it. Get people registering for it. Come up with the party idea and the party platform. Get it registered. Start your fundraising.
That's it. That's what I mean. That's what it has to do. We can't just sit. I'm tired of everybody complaining all the time about what's going on and then doing nothing about it because they feel like they're not going to do nothing. Oh, okay. Well,
Mhm.
then shut up. I mean,
You know,
I mean,
or
I'm
what you'd
sorry.
like to get out of the political process. Be the change you want to see. Create the party that you want that mirrors your needs, your aspirations, and how you think this country should go. I'm
So
old.
yeah.
I'm
So
I'm 60, so I
with
think it
that
needs to
being
be
said,
another
we have
person.
gone through this hour already.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I can't even get through all of the comments because there's so many comments up here. But I just want y'all to Saturday, July 13th. I want you to look out for our post for that and join us to watch the Dying to Vote documentary by Loki Mulholland. He was on our show once before. Um, and we're going to watch that, and then we're going to have a 2-hour conversation. We're going to have a hour and 30-minute conversation about it. Please join us here. Thank you so much for really pushing this type of conversation because we needed to push it.
Mhm.
I'm sorry if I
Yeah.
said anything, that might have been offensive, but because I think I did at the end, and I apologize. But nevertheless, I want y'all to just join us Saturday. So we're having 2 shows next week. Saturday at 3 p.m. for 2 hours, and then Sunday at 4 o'clock for the wrap up of the Project 2025. With that being said, thank you for joining us. We're glad you came. I'm Danya. Enjoy this heat.
I'm Brian Sheffy. Again, parts of the country getting hit by the storm. Please stay safe. Thank you as always for spending this hour with us. Sorry if I got a little spicy, but there you go. As Johnny has said, you're in for a treat. We will see you 2 times next week. And until then, have an awesome Sunday.
Bye, guys.